Hello, welcome to the Jericho Comedy Podcast. We're the multi-award-winning Jericho Comedy based in Oxford, and this is our podcast. You probably already knew that. I'm Conor McReynolds, and this week on the Jericho Comedy Podcast, I'm joined by the superb Ben Robson. Ben is such a great act. I love seeing him at Jericho. He's so brilliantly silly, and he's got such a fun energy. I've never seen him have anything other than an absolute stormer in front of our lovely audiences. Ben runs the triple Chortle Award-winning Goat Comedy in Brighton, and so I'll be asking him all about that, about his comedy, and more. You're also going to be hearing a lovely message from our brilliant charity partner, Oxfordshire Mind. There's so much to look forward to, but without further ado, here is the wonderful Ben Robson. Ben Robson, hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's so lovely to be speaking to you, Ben.
You too. It's been a long time. Long time no see.
It has.
Long time no hear.
It's been, I don't know the last time I got to see you at a gig. I mean, I wish I could say it was closer to the beginning of lockdown, but I don't think it really was.
No.
How have you been finding the absence of gigs?
It's been weird. I mean, at first it was strange because you're doing it all of the time.
Yeah.
But then after a while, it was quite enjoyable for a little bit to just have a bit of a break and sort of recharge the batteries, if you like. Because I think you can sort of get on that continuous train of just doing gig after gig after gig and not thinking about what you're doing, but it's just, it can get quite full on. And I think lockdown has made me realise, wow, there's so many other things I sort of used to do, including just sitting on my sofa in a pair of pants.
Yeah, remembering what your partner looks like, that kind of thing.
Exactly. How's it
I mean, it's been, I wish I could convincingly pretend that I am a very kind of proactive comedian like you, but I'm actually very lazy when it comes to gigs. Yeah. So when lockdown kicked in, like most people kind of, were saying after lockdown, or, when gigs came back, the drive-ins and the outdoor gigs and stuff, people were like, oh, it's my first gig in 4 months. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I do that sometimes. But like, not because of lockdown, just because I'm lazy.
Yeah.
But it was funny. I kind of, there was a little part of me that actually at the beginning of the year was like not having a great time with gigging. And I think it was because I wasn't writing very much new stuff. And I was getting a bit bored of what I was saying. And I kind of thought, like, maybe I just won't really do it anymore. Maybe I'll kind of move on to other creative things. And then as soon as lockdown kicked in, I was like, oh, God, I miss comedy so much.
Yeah.
I think it was having the option taken away from me made my mind up.
Yeah, that you actually missed it. And I think I don't, you said I'm a proactive comedian or doing gig. I think there's times when you, like I said at the start, it's dangerous because you can start going through the motions and you are doing the same material most of the time with maybe the odd new bit in and things like that. And I think, it's the biggest challenge I'm having at the moment is sort of moving up from that sort of 15-minute thing into 20s and pushing yourself. I think you can get in a comfort zone after a while, sort of doing 10-minute, 15-minute middle spots and things like that. And I don't know. I was just talking to a friend of mine, James Ellis, actually another I nearly said another great stand-up comedian, which would be calling myself great. A great comic. And so we were sort of just chatting about that and saying it's so important to try and push yourself like you did at the start when everything was new and everything was, you scary, you were petrified of going up. It was, the nerves, and that's what made it feel so great as well when you came off and you'd got some laughs and you'd come off and you're like, wow, I love this. And I think if you do too much of the same thing for too long, that can sort of go. And obviously with it, you can, become more comfortable on stage, and there's benefits of that. And you maybe a better performer in many ways. But I think, sounds cliche, but
that's really interesting. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's really interesting. We were chatting to Hugh Davies on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he was talking about that exact same thing, about getting a bit comfortable and the need to take risks and stuff. And he was saying the best gig, or the gig that he's got most out of ever having done, was the only time he's ever performed without his keyboard. And he did set list. Do you know set list?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, like the improvised stand-up thing. And he did that once, and he said like it was such a rush because he was taking risks and doing something that he'd never done before, and he was totally out of his comfort zone. So yeah, I'm really interested in that idea because we have something in common. We both studied at the same comedy course.
Yeah.
Wonderful Jill Edwards in Brighton runs a great comedy course. Was that your very first experience of comedy, or had you dabbled a bit before you went and worked with Jill?
Oh, I dabbled. I had done some improvised comedy, which often amongst stand-ups are like, oh my god, like improv. I found that actually a lot of stand-up comics seem to pretty much detest improv comedy, and I can sort of see their viewpoint when it's done, especially when it's done badly. It's the most cringy thing. But I suppose that's like stand-up. If it's terrible, and you're watching it, you want to be anywhere else, and you just feel the pain of the performers and stuff. But
absolutely.
I started with improv and did a few. Again, that was courses, and there were sort of showcases at the end of that where we'd do a performance in front of friends and family. And then after that, I was looking for the next sort of step, really, because funnily enough, I mean, I listen to a lot of comedians and they're like, this was my calling. And from, age 10 or whatever, I could just always thought, I want to be a stand-up comedian, all this. And I don't know if this is a sign of just having a very basic brain. But when I used to watch stand-up comedy, I would just sit there, watch it just on face value. Even up until, fairly before I started doing stand-up, I'd just watch and go, I would never link the two and think, oh, I could do that. Or even,
I am exactly the same.
Really, even particularly I want to do that. It wasn't really an ambition at that point. So that was the same with you, was it? Was that?
Yeah, well, for me, I was 28 before I ever did my first set, and I think I thought of stand-up a little bit like acting. Like there must be comedy schools you go to, and everybody who does stand-up has to have an agent, and all these barriers to because I'm not walking around thinking I could be in a movie, and I just sort of thought there were the same barriers to stand-up that there are to acting or publishing a book or something. I did not realize that stand-up was something that if you want to do it, go and do it. I just was completely oblivious to this.
I think subconsciously that's where my thinking came from, when I just used to watch people doing it on TV and things. I think I just assumed, oh well, that's. I didn't even think deeper beyond that. I was just like, that was funny. I turned that off and going.
So you sign up to this improv course. You said you did a sketch course as well?
I think I did. Right? I think I did a day of creative writing or something like that. I think I was just desperate for people to tell me how to do it almost, which is strange. But I think that comes from, with the stand-up course, that definitely came, I didn't even consider just going into a pub, getting up at an open mic and just talking for 5. I didn't even know how you would do that, or when I started that course, the Jill Edwards course, I was just looking around the room and thinking, wow, all of these people are amazing. Well, maybe not all of them, but I was like, they're they're amazing. Take that out as well. They're I was like, wow, how are these people writing jokes? And I was like, I could not even produce a joke. It was just, but then after a while, it sort of clicks in. and I think you
Yeah.
find your way a bit and sort of
Yeah. I mean, I think, because I'm sure you'll have encountered as well in the sort of stand-up community, there's a little bit of snobbery around comedy courses. There kind of seem to be a couple of schools of thought. Generally, I think the divide is people who have done courses really get something out of them, and people who haven't done courses are like, "Huh, you can't teach what I do." It's like, well, you know. But what for
Would you
you
want to
were the
teach what you
benefits
do?
of it?
What are the benefits for me, did you say?
Yeah, in terms of because obviously you've been going now a lot longer, and you've got your own night and that kind of thing. But the lessons that you got from that course, I mean, you say that every aspect of it, you know, writing a joke, but even stuff like the actual stagecraft, like, you know, learning to speak properly into the mic and all that stuff was covered.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, are there lessons that you took from that you're still using now?
I mean, probably sort of subconsciously. I think when you start, like you just said, you're taught to do absolutely everything in there, and it's some of it you maybe wouldn't have even thought of. You know, it would be like, oh, pick the mic out of the stand, that sort of. A bit like when you learn to drive, and you just everything seems, oh, I've got to change gear while steering, and I've got to do all these different things. So I guess it just gets you through those initial things that, while your material isn't great, you probably don't want anything else distracting the audience. And I think, or making them think this guy looks nervous, or this, because you are nervous, and I think you've got to try and
definitely,
especially early on. Well, even now you've got to show confidence, because the audience can sort of almost smell fear. So I think if you're there fumbling about with the microphone, and or you keep touching the cable, or you're, I don't know, garbling and mumbling your words and not projecting your voice enough, then people are just going to struggle to laugh, basically, I think, or they're going to be concentrating
absolutely.
on the
I think for me, the big thing that I kind of took away from that course, because I'd done like a handful of gigs, and then my partner, now my wife, she got me the course as a gift, which I'm not sure what it says about those early gigs that I'd done a few, and she was like, "You should go and learn how to do this." But it was a great gift, and I really loved doing the course. But I think the big thing I took away from it was like learning about the kinds of things you should avoid writing about, because we have both probably very unfortunately had to see a lot of newer comics, usually young white men who are like, oh, I'm going to shock the audience and they'll laugh so much and I'll be the new Frankie Boyle. And the course was a great reminder of, don't be a dick when you start writing material, and just write stuff that, you know, that entertains you, and don't try to shock people. And so I find that a big thing. So was your first gig, your first kind of stand-up performance, was that the show at the end of the Jill Edwards course?
Yeah, so as you know, obviously there's the show at the end in front of I think nearly 300 family and friends come along. And you perform your set, don't you? Your 5 minutes that you've cobbled together over the previous 12 weeks. And for me, I was thinking, I'm never going to be able to stand there for 5 minutes. I don't have. Was it 5 minutes or 3 minutes?
I think the first one was 3 minutes. Yeah,
it might have been. And at the time, 3 minutes it was like eternity to be standing in front of 300 people. Whereas now, you blink and you'd miss it, wouldn't you? If it was
exactly. Yeah.
You'd be like, right, that's my time. But that was the first performance, and I remember being backstage and just honestly feeling like I was about to go out there and get shot. It was just that.
Oh man,
like nerve-wracking. And there's no matter how many times we were told they're all going to be lovely and friendly, and it's like there's 300 people out there, and I know about 10 of them.
I'm
petrified, and it's just like. At one point, not to get too crass, but I kept basically going to the toilet, which is that whole fight or flight thing. I must have gone like 10 times in there. Well, I didn't, anyway, it's too much information. Didn't end up producing any stuff. You're just sort of going in there thinking, I need the toilet, but you actually don't. But it was getting to the stage where I was like, I think I'm going to need to just take a chair out there with me in case it sort of dribbles down my leg. It was that petrifying that I would just. But then, obviously, within one joke, they've laughed, and then amazingly, you're enjoying it, and you're like, I don't want this to end, and it just that was the real. And you come off, don't you, thinking I'm the best comedian in the world?
Oh God, yeah. Everybody was so nice at that first gig. I remember getting the train back. Well, I had to get the train to the train to London, and then a coach from London back to Oxford overnight that night. So I didn't get home till like 3 a.m. But pretty much the entire way home, I just listened on repeat to the recording, and I was like, Angela Barnes brought me on stage, and people laughed.
And you did it on speaker.
Couldn't believe it. But yeah, do you remember what kinds of things you were talking about in your first set and your first kind of topics that you wrote about?
Wow. This was the whole. I honestly think I spent about half of my time. In the end, I think I did do about 4.5 minutes. I spent about half of that time just talking about the jacket potato. But like, but this is how much you're scraping the barrel. You're like, right, what can I talk about? Well, I had a jacket potato for lunch, so I'll talk about that for 2.5 minutes. That's going to form. Yeah, so I spoke about that for ages. And then afterwards, you honestly felt famous. I mean, I don't know, this guy was quite an odd guy. I didn't know him, but we all went to the Wagon and Horses after, which is a pub right near Comedia in Brighton. And this guy came up to me, he was like, "Way, jacket potato, jacket potato." And he was like, "Do the jacket potato." And I was like, I feel here like Peter Kay and his garlic bread thing. And I've only just started. I thought I've made it. I've got a catchphrase. Everything's here for me. It's set out for stardom. And yeah, I think I spent a lot of time. But also at that point, I used to really drag the pauses out. And I think
wow.
I really drag them out. Like, I don't know why, but I used to just almost enjoy standing there in silence and just then say the punchline, which was obviously a pretty weak punchline. But then this 300 crowd would be in hysterics, false hysterics, supporting you and stuff. But, no, I loved that night, to be fair. And I do, I get when people are saying they bash courses and they're like, but I think it's each to their own. If you're confident enough from the outset to be, I want to go up, I've got my own voice, I just want to speak for 5 minutes about this, then great, I think do that. But if you want to do a course and that's your way in, then also do that. And also some people do courses, don't they, not to carry on with stand-up and just to do it as a, I don't know,
just as a kind of creative outlet or improve public speaking, as you say. I think there are loads of really good reasons to, and like it's a social thing. I personally kind of think there are lots of benefits to doing them, but as you say, maybe some people just want to get to it. But you can definitely tell sometimes when someone's done a course and when someone hasn't, and it can maybe teach you a certain rhythm that you see it repeated a lot amongst people starting out. But I think for whatever drawbacks that might have, the positives of kind of learning what you should and shouldn't talk about, I think are invaluable, because I have seen too many shocking young men now, and I just can't be bothered with it anymore.
Yeah, totally. And it's just like, without talking about the course for too long, you're right there. It teaches you there's no right way to do it, but there is a wrong way to do it. And I think when you said about it teaches you what you shouldn't talk about, I think the important thing with that is in comedy you can talk about anything if you talk about it. This sounds quite wanky, but if you talk about it with skill, or you're adding something extra to the conversation or a unique perspective, and I think picking up on what you said about people at the start, you just generally, unless you're born to do this and you just, I don't know, a 1 in a million performer sort of thing, you haven't honed that skill yet to be able to comment on certain things in a funny way. You are just saying stuff like you're talking about, I don't know, well, I don't want to mention the topics in some ways because they're quite, sort of serious issues, and all you're going to be doing is the shock value. Really,
Exactly that, yeah. And I think it's just a quite desperate attempt by new acts. Desperate, not necessarily in like, that sounds like I mean it in a really negative way, but I actually mean like the desire to be remembered or acknowledged as having done the thing. You're so keen to make an impact that shock is the only thing you've got in your repertoire. So you think, if I shock them, they'll think I was really brave for saying that and they'll admire me. But it's just misplaced, as you say, without the skills to write the jokes and actually make it funny and have a unique perspective. But we are now seemingly a million miles away from that comedy course, because you have gone on to co-found your own award-winning comedy night. Tell us about Goat Comedy.
Yeah, so it basically started in January 2017. There were, how many of us were there then? There were a group of 5 of us at that stage. So it was myself, Heather Miner, Erica, my girlfriend, Erica Smith, and James Ellis and Martin Ratton. And we started off it was basically a themed night. So it was set on an island called Goat Island, which is sort of a dystopian, I don't know, like bleak place, basically, with very few visitors and more sheep than people. That was the whole sort of scene. And then we ran about 4 of them, and then Heather decided to move on to other stuff. And then after that, we had a month's break. It was quite good timing because it was in April 2017. We had a month off for the Fringe, and then we came back and we basically just killed off all the characters in that first season, Goat Comedy The Island, and then went on from there. And we run these nights. So they're sort of immersive comedy nights where the whole room is like decorated in the theme. People even dress up for it. It's like amazing. And they really get up for it. It's almost become a bit of a cult night, really. And the acts that we get are all more alternative or character acts and sketch acts. Some musical acts from time to time. But yeah, the more alternative sort of surreal side of comedy. So that's very much our niche. So it's not just a case of getting a room and decorating it in a jungle theme or something. For example, season 3 was the jungle. It's also about the acts that we have, and each episode, so each night, basically each month, we have the show opens with me emceeing and obviously, warm the room up and stuff. And then we basically have a sketch which presents a problem. So something's happened in the jungle, or, if the next season after that was a set, it was basically Goat Comedy, the Prohibition, where comedy had been banned and we had to almost do it as an underground thing. And it's very much like sort of 1920s and Art Deco sort of thing like that. So we do a bit of emceeing at the start, and then a sketch which would present a problem like, oh God, the police are coming to, investigate the bar in the Prohibition or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then there'd be a couple of acts, and then we'd come back after the break and we'd have a sketch to start that next section off. And that would basically close off the problem that was presented in the first section. It's all ridiculous sketches, just silly, slapstick, quite visual, like, I don't know, visual gags, a lot of it. Like some of it is like we had James Ellis come on stage. It was when the theme was Goat Comedy The Circus, which was season 5. And actually that was we had 1 episode left of that. So 1 month left to run before the pandemic kicked in. So we just got the final show we did was on the 14th of March. And then after that, obviously everything sort of shut down.
Oh, so your fans are left with the story unresolved then?
Yeah, I think they'll be okay. because it was sort of, it was also as well like because you would get different people in. We have a lot of regulars, but each month you get different people in. So we sort of abandoned the idea of continuing the story too much from month to month. We would have sort of in jokes and things like that, and some continuations of how different characters within the sketches would behave. So within the sketches, it's always just us, basically, the Goat Comedy crew, if you like. So myself, James Ellis, Martin Ratton, and Erica Smith. And yeah, that was it. So it's like one sketch for the circus was basically just the simple idea of we're recruiting for the circus because we didn't have enough entertainers, and Martin was a knife thrower, and I was like, okay, well, how do I know you're good or whatever? And he said, well, I'm the 37th best knife thrower in Europe. And I went, okay, right. Well, how do I know if you got any sort of references? He went, yeah, James is my assistant. So James Ellis comes on stage with a target on his back, but he's absolutely covered in blood. So that got good. So that's the sort of level of it, because we meet up a couple of times a month before each show, and we explore a few ideas, and sometimes you go down rabbit holes for a couple of hours and you're like, this is a terrible idea, and we've got to start again. I remember we did one show where the whole script had been written, and then for some reason I decided it'd be a good idea to speak that first scene over the song from Les Miserables, I Dreamed a Dream. And then it was the only time, probably not the only time, but one that really stands out, that I was just on stage whilst doing that and thinking, this is horrific. It was it just didn't work. It didn't work. So sometimes it doesn't work, but we've been lucky, touch wood, where, or hopefully not lucky, hopefully it's from, the script writing and the thoughts on it. But every so often, because you're working just for a one-off performance without any rehearsal, every so often you will get it wrong. And that time, touch wood, as I say, is probably the only time where I've been up there and it's felt like amateur dramatics, and like we're sort of putting people through this, having to watch it. That first sketch is that. But other than that, it's been great, to be honest. And the acts have been, the acts who come along are just some of my absolute favourite acts. We've had like Rosie Jones has come along to do it. Awesome. She's probably one of the straighter acts that we've had. Tina Turner, Tea Lady. I don't know if you know her.
Oh, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, so she's great. We've had like John Kearns and Joe Wilkinson.
Wow.
Angelos Ipathimu. Yeah, all sorts. Gein's Family Gift Shop, which is an amazing sketch group, like produced by Kiri Pritchard McLean, and
cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been great.
It's really great. And you guys, you've won the Chortle Award for Best Night in your region 3 years running.
Yeah, and that's been amazing, really.
From a Jericho Comedy point of view, we can't tell you how glad we are that, even though we always thought Oxford was in the south, but we're judged to be in the Midlands. So when you guys the last couple of years have been winning Best Night in the South, we've won Best Night in the Midlands. Yeah. And I think we're all very glad we're not up against your night.
Yeah, well, the same goes the other way as well. Jericho, the work they do, the work you guys do, raising money for Mind, is just, I was thinking that the other day, well, in terms of contribution to almost society, really, like it's hands down, Jericho is going to win that. And just, you give great opportunity to acts to come along and, try stuff out and things. So yeah, it's really nice that both nights are winning these things.
And what's really lovely as well is that those awards are decided by acts and audiences vote for them. I think probably mostly acts, if we're because sometimes comedy kind of lives in a little bit of a bubble, that I think the kind of people who engage with things like Chortle are probably people who are really invested in comedy. So I think it's a nice thing to get when you see the acts are voting for your night.
Yeah, because I think it just shows they've really enjoyed the night, and it's there's sort of a bit of a pat on the back for that. It sort of is rare in a way for ours, because you do go to quite a lot of nights and the audience will be very varied each time and lots of different people, although you'll have some regulars. Whereas at Goat, there are the regulars and they really support the night. I mean, we're really lucky for that. And it's just so, they back us with their votes as well for something that, they probably wouldn't normally really even know about. But that's sort of how they support us and think, okay, let's give these guys a vote to sort of, I don't know, it sounds a bit like I'm patting myself, but say thanks for the the work you put in and things like that. So that's really lovely.
It's really lovely. Do you think, because you've been to Jericho quite a few times now to perform, do you think there are any similarities, not necessarily in the tone of the night, because Goat Comedy, I think, very much sounds like its own thing, and Jericho is traditionally probably more of a kind of straight stand-up night. But do you think there are any similarities in like the ethos of the nights, or what do you think, is there a common thread between both nights that you think makes them so popular with acts and audiences?
I think, to be honest, the common thread is the warm welcome you get. Like when you go to Jericho, everyone there is so friendly, and yourself, Alex,
Chelsea and Chelsea,
Harry. Yeah, everyone's so welcoming. And also, one thing I would say as well is from the MCing perspective, I mean, I've never seen you MC a lot all of you do, all those people I've mentioned there MC at Jericho, and I've never seen you guys sort of punching down or being aggressive to an audience or sort of, picking on audience. It's very welcoming for both the audience and the acts as well. And I think that's the same at Goat, is when we started, you're sort of starting out and building it up. And initially, you maybe don't have a huge budget and things, but you're at Goat, we always try and pass on pretty much everything to the acts. So we're always paying all of the acts essentially as much as we possibly can. And when they arrive, they get like a box of chocolates, they get a free drink behind the bar.
Oh, that's nice, yeah.
And they're just, we just try and support them really, because I remember an early gig when, I don't know how many in, like 10 gigs in or something. I went to a gig and I got given a bar of chocolate. And obviously at that point, I'd never been paid for comedy or anything.
Yeah.
And just to be given that was just like, I know it's just a bar of chocolate, but it just made me feel really like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Like, I was not expecting anything. And it's little touches, I think, that just make, or things like, offering to drop acts off at the train station, things like that afterwards, if they don't feel comfortable walking, which I know a lot of nights have started to pick up more now. So I'd say that is definitely just the sort of thread that's matched.
I definitely see that. I totally see what you mean, and I do agree. I think that thing about like not punching down that you said, and like not kind of ever being sort of, the joke's never at the audience's expense, because, well, there are a couple of reasons I think that is particularly the ethos at Jericho. Firstly, like we do just want to be nice. Like we book nice acts, people like you and James Ellis, and so many lovely acts come along and perform, and we really love having you all there. But also like the fact that we do fundraise for a mental health charity, it would be very off-brand if we suddenly started attacking the audience and they left with terrible mental health. Mind you, then at least we'd be fundraising for a service that they could, reap the benefits of. So who knows? Maybe it's that kind of create your own business thing, but yeah. It's I mean, tell me about your first Jericho experience. When did you first come, and like how did you hear about the night?
I think I wouldn't know when exact, maybe a couple of years ago, or potentially, 3 years ago, I don't know. But I remember seeing a few acts locally in Brighton had gone over and done it. And I also saw pictures of the night, and I just thought that looks great, because it just looks like a full room. I think that, there were some comments on your Facebook page and stuff saying what a great night it was and other acts had. So I think we organised a car of us to drive over from Brighton, which is about 2.5 hours or something.
Yeah.
A couple of hours. But yeah, I think just from seeing other people do it, found out about it.
I just love when you come to do Jericho, because your style is so fun and so silly. Like, it's proper kind of daft escapism. I mean, how would you describe your style?
Oh, thank you. That's very, very kind. Yeah, I'd probably say a little bit. Yeah, just stupid. I think stupid's quite a good word for it. Yeah, I like to, again, without getting too grand about it, I like to, allow the audience to escape for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, escape their worries. But no, I don't really, my mind doesn't work in a way where I'm going to be going up there and talking about Brexit and politics and whatever, Donald Trump and all of that stuff. So I tend to just veer for this sort of weirder things or the more stupid stuff, really.
Was that a conscious decision on your part when you started out? Or is it just kind of reflective of your personality? Like, was there an act that you watched that kind of directly influenced your style? Or do you think that you've kind of found a way to be very authentically yourself on stage?
I think initially I was trying to fit in with everyone else, especially on that course. So it was very, it teaches you how to sort of cut your words down and write a gag and set up punchline, that sort of thing. And then after a while, I just found, it wasn't intentional. It's just the way my mind sort of goes. So I don't know, I'll explain it on this podcast. It's not going to, I don't know if it will come across very well, but like an example is we had some builders working outside our flat and they were just drilling all day. And it was just constant drilling. I was like, this is so annoying. So some people might have written a bit about there's builders around, they're drilling, it's doing my head in all this with a punchline at the end. But for me, that became a thing which was some audio tracks. So I created a little bit in my set which is just called Fart or Drill. And that's probably all that needs explaining, to be honest. I mean, and that, funnily enough, even with my own stuff, I'm like, I don't know why this is going to work, but I've got a gut instinct that it might. And then, we've got a WhatsApp group where we try some jokes out and things.
Yeah.
So me, James Ellis, Dinesh, Nathan, Martin Ratton, and James Tully. And I'll often put things in there and they will be like, well, that will probably work, but I don't know why, or that will probably work for you, that sort of thing. Because we don't sort of think the same. But yeah, I went and did this thing, and it is literally just, right, let's have a quick game of Fart or Drill. And then I play a drill sound, and the audience shout out, drill, drill, play another drill, about 6 times, building the tension, and then eventually I play this fart noise. And for some reason, they laugh their heads off, and then that's it. And then that's the end of the joke once that's done.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So that sort of thing. But yeah.
That sounds fantastic. I really can't wait until you're back at Jericho Comedy sometime, hopefully very soon, so I can see a live game of Fart or Drill.
What a time to be alive.
Well, Ben, there's so much I want to talk to you about, but we've got to go to a little message now. We mentioned Oxford Your Mind. We love Oxford Your Mind. So they have a little message for our lovely listeners. Here it is.
Oxford Safe Haven is open on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Monday evening from 6 p.m. till 10 p.m. The phones are open from 5 and the last booking is at 9 p.m. To refer yourself to Oxford Safe Haven, just give us a call on 01865 903037.
All right, Ben, you might know Jericho Comedy as a warm, friendly, inclusive club where everyone has a good time and comes away feeling happy and relaxed. But unfortunately, those positive vibes haven't yet found their way onto the podcast because this next section is called Pressing Questions. I'm about to ask you a series of questions in a manner that Jeremy Paxman once called a bit much. All I need from you are some honest answers. Can you do that for me?
Yeah, I think so.
Fantastic. Here we go. Ben, why do you think tricycles aren't acceptable for adults?
Why aren't tricycles acceptable for adults?
There'd certainly be fewer accidents if we all embraced the adult tricycle, don't you think?
They would, yeah. They'd be a lot more stable. I don't know, really. I mean, I can't think why you wouldn't ride a tricycle in all sort of conditions, especially like the snow. That would be great.
Yeah.
You produce 3 lines at once. That'd be a great advert for Adidas or something like that. You could.
It would, yeah.
Hey,
Maybe we need Adidas to take a leadership stance here and encourage adults to use tricycles in snow.
I think they should in snow or any condition, because you could maybe ride a tricycle to the Adidas headquarters in the rain or something, but it's only been drizzling, and then you could, just drizzling so that it's with a hot day otherwise, and then you can go through a puddle that's formed, and then just ride your tricycle around the dry areas and produce the Adidas pattern.
I love it. I'm seeing that marketing head on with that answer. That's
why I didn't get the Adidas job.
They said, no, tricycles aren't for adults, stupid.
Yeah. Returning to the office, sorry guys, I didn't go for the rain idea. I did not go for the rain. So sorry.
All right, Ben, are you any good at pub quizzes?
Is that if I say yes, do we move on to the next question, or is there a test?
I don't know. I might test you with a question just to see if you're bullshitting or not.
Am I good at pub quizzes? I'm all right, but I have a tendency to get excited sometimes, shout out the answer.
I can sympathise with that, yeah.
Do that as well,
That's definitely... What are your specialist rounds in a pub quiz?
My specialist rounds would be sport and music, like identifying the track or the artist. More the track than the artist.
Yeah.
How about
I'm very bad at those rounds. I always tell myself that I'll be good at the sports rounds and like movie trivia, but actually sports is only because I remember, like, for some ridiculous reason, like the year that Alan Shearer moved to Newcastle. And so I'm like, if that comes up, I'll be great. And was
it 96?
It was 96 for a then British transfer record of £15 million.
Oh, he knows his stuff.
And I don't know why I remember that. Like, I don't remember anything I was taught at school. I don't remember anything from my university degree. But I can tell you that when Andy Cole moved from Newcastle to Man United, Keith Gillespie went in the other direction.
He did.
I don't know why I remember these, 1995 transfers. Ben, what would the title of your memoirs be?
These are, good questions.
These are pressing questions.
They are very pressing. The title of my memoirs would be...
I like that. Just sigh.
Right. Yeah, let's have that. Let's just sigh.
It would really, the title would only work properly well in the audiobook.
It would. Yeah, which I probably wouldn't even get the gig for because I've got quite an annoying voice. So I'd have to just give it to someone else to sigh.
Who do you think would read your memoirs? Who would you choose for the voice?
I think I would choose Mark Lebet, the Beast from The Chase.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was thinking, which great dramatic Shakespearean actor is he going to choose? Is he going to go for Patrick Stewart? Nah, the Beast from The Chase.
I think just because he's got similar physique. Well.
All right, well, Ben,
Similar.
This episode is being released on National Colouring Day in the US. What's your message for colouring in fans across the globe?
Keep believing yourselves and keep it in between the lines.
That is an important message. I think that's transferable, not just to colouring in, but I think, keep believing in yourself and keep it in the lines. Just good life advice.
Yeah, I think so. And Maybe that could be the slogan, actually, of the Adidas tricycle campaign.
Oh, yes! It's come back. Adidas, seriously, get in touch with Ben. This idea, it is solid.
Dude, give me a call.
All right, Ben, if you were appearing in the classic daytime TV show Ready, Steady, Cook, given the £5 limit you have for ingredients, what would you bring in?
Probably as many 6-packs as I could of chocolate mousses. Just loads of chocolate mousses. And I'd put them in a massive bowl. I think that'd be it. That's all I'd do. Yeah.
That would be great. And just call it Ben's Chocolate Surprise.
Yeah.
The surprise is... it's all chocolate.
The camera just tilts from the bowl of chocolate mousse. And the surprise is to all of the empty packs of chocolate mousse on the side. That's it.
I really don't know why, and this probably says a lot about me, but when you mentioned the camera tilting, I was like, oh, Ainsley Harriot's going to be dead. Like, but that is, that clearly says more about me than you there, Ben.
It's such a strange assumption as well. Great. Oh, I know where he's going with this.
Oh my God.
Ainsley's a goner.
I'm going to need to see, you know that Jim will paint it account?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where he just draws all these things on MS Paint. I think I'm going to need to see this image now of you with a bunch of chocolate mousses in a TV studio trying to stuff Ainsley Harriot's body behind the counter.
Oh, God.
It's got dark. Sorry, listener. All right, let's lighten things up a bit. Ben, if you were aiming to disrupt the tea, coffee, hot chocolate domination in the hot drink market, what hot drink would you suggest adding?
Probably a hot chocolate mousse. Actually, would that just become hot chocolate if you did that?
I think it might, yeah. I think mousse heated up would surely lose what essentially makes it mousse.
Moussey.
Oh my God, we're getting into the philosophy of what makes a mousse mousse. And I didn't think it would be so directly related to temperature, but here we are.
It's true, actually, isn't it? If you did pour water into, or would you pour milk to sort of keep it?
I mean, now we're definitely describing a hot chocolate. If we pour hot milk into it, yeah.
That's true. I mean, is that answer? Should I come up with another one?
I feel like what you're saying there, you can stick with the answer, but what you're saying there is essentially, I have no wish to disrupt the tea, coffee, hot chocolate domination.
Yeah, I think I probably...
and that's a fine political stance if you want that.
Why is coffee not part of it? I don't even drink coffee. I've never had a cup of coffee in my life. Don't know why I paused for reaction after that. There should be none. That's the most boring fact ever.
That little pause was for the listener to say, "What? No."
Yeah. I would not believe it. I mean, I put him down as the type of guy to kill Ainsley Harriott, but not the type of guy to have not had a coffee. No way. He's had a coffee. Yeah.
So you haven't had coffee, but you're quite happy with that triumvirate of dominant hot drinks: tea, coffee, hot chocolate.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a perfectly fine answer. Listener, if you've got any complaints about that answer, tweet us at Comedy Jericho and we will direct your complaints to Ben. Ben, what's the difference between a turtle and a tortoise?
A turtle wishes that it didn't have to go in the water. Is that the right way round?
I don't know. And terrapins come into it somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
And they're a bit turtley or tortoisey, but...
What happens if a tortoise goes in the water? Would it sink? Or would it just do what a turtle does?
So you think that tortoises are just turtles that haven't tried swimming. That would explain why their skin looks so dry and wrinkly.
Exactly. They need some H2O in there and some moisturisation to pick things up. I have actually, now you've said that, it sounds silly, but I have always sort of thought that, I think, that they're basically the same, but one of them lives on land and one of them has chosen the sea. But that can't be right, and I realise I've been a fool.
I really like it. In the same way that I knew a man who lived into his 90s. He was just adamant that all cats were girls and all dogs were boys. And there's nothing in biology to explain that point of view, but you couldn't talk him out of it.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And I sort of see what he means. Like, dogs have that kind of stupid, boyish energy where they just bound around and run into walls and stuff, and that's very much what a boy would do. And cats are very dignified and refined a lot of the time.
That's true, aren't
they? They have a bit of a more elegant energy that we associate with femininity, but I guess biologically that can't be the case. I know, maybe if there's a vet listening, maybe they can correct us and say, no, actually, he was right.
Well, hang on a minute, Connor. You're quickly jumping to the conclusion you need to go to a vet when you've just been speaking to a guy who thinks that a turtle is the same as a dog. You don't realise I've got a lot of skills.
I am not appreciating the value of the expert that I've got right here on the line.
Exactly.
Well, what's your hot take on cats and dogs then? We've solved turtles and tortoises. That we've closed the book on that.
Cats and dogs. Well, you never see a cat with really rough fur.
That's true.
As you would with a dog.
I don't know what it proves, but it's another clue in this seemingly never-ending riddle.
Actually, that's interesting because a cat's fur is very soft, and a dog's fur is rougher generally.
Yes, yeah, I would agree.
Whereas a cat's tongue is rough, and a dog's tongue is softer.
Oh
so at some point, do you think when dogs and cats are being born, they don't know what they are yet until they get their tongue?
I love that as a theory. I am 100% on board with that. Because their little eyes haven't opened yet, so they can't look in a mirror. They can't know straight away, but they'll know by giving themselves a lick, and they'll be like,
exactly.
I'm a dog.
I'm a dog. I'm a dog.
Oh, case
and also that makes sense because if you have rough fur, like a dog, is it fur or hair? Dog
fur.
Fur. If you've got rough fur, and I might be taking this too far, up here we've already done that.
I'm picturing one of those kind of drawing boards in front of you with string going from pictures of cats to dogs.
I've solved it. If you have rough fur, you wouldn't want a rough tongue to lick that fur.
That's true.
I don't really know why. you said that's true, so that's fine.
I'm 100% on board with that. Yeah, I think they all have this yin-yang situation. Rough tongue, smooth fur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Rough tongue, smooth fur. And if take that out, edit that bit out. I think I was about to start singing Ed Sheeran. Bloody hell. Take that out. Rough tongue, smooth fur. Licking away like a little cat. We know you're a cat because you got a rough tongue. Edit that out. That could be the end of everything for me. Yes, but the final point on that is the other way round. I think is a nicer example. If you're a cat with if you were a cat which has a rough tongue and soft fur, Connor looking at the time and the podcast going, we really need to wrap. If you were...
oh no, I'm here for the long haul. If this episode ends up being 4 hours and 3.5 hours are this discussion, I'm fine with that.
Oh dear. If you are a cat and you've got a rough tongue and soft fur, that's fine.
Yes.
Which you will have, which is why you were born that way. But if you've got soft fur and a soft tongue like a dog, your tongue is just going to go out of control when you lick yourself. It's going to be all over the place because there's no friction or anything. Your tongue's going to... And cats have got sharp teeth, so you probably end up biting your tongue off.
I love that. So that you think the texture on a cat's tongue is there so it can get some purchase. Otherwise, it's essentially just like their tongue is sliding out of control.
Forever.
Case
It never
closed. Another riddle solved on the Jericho Comedy Podcast. You're welcome, listener. This is educational stuff. All right. Ben, now I need to know, what's the best way to consume pancakes?
In your mouth, I'd say.
That is a 10 out of 10 answer. Do you have them hot? Do you have them cold? Do you prefer a thick or a thin?
Hot. Well, we've started having pancakes made with, it's very bright in this, maybe not, but like with almond flour and oats and things like that.
Oh, wow. That is very Brighton.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I mean...
That is... I mean, oat milk in the batter as well, or is that taking it too
almond
far?
Milk.
Almond milk. Okay.
Yeah, almond milk, almond flour.
Wouldn't it just be easier to eat an almond, Ben?
Well, it would, yeah. But I have about 8 pancakes a morning, so I don't think I'd want to eat 8 almonds.
That's true.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to go too far. And yeah, I think just put them in your mouth. Hot, yeah.
Yep.
Bit of yogurt on there, maybe some fruit, like blueberries and a banana and raspberries.
Oh, how lovely! That's a very good way to consume pancakes. Ah, the pièce de résistance, little honey on top. Oh, mamma mia!
Am I meant to ask you back what you would think? What you would...
Not necessarily, but if you want to, that option is open to you. I'd like to know. I'm a thick pancake guy. I prefer them to a crepe. I like them thick, kind of American style. And I like a bit of bacon and maple syrup on mine. Actually, bacon, maple syrup, and throw some blueberries on there as well. I'm with you on the blueberries.
Oh, what distance are you throwing the blueberries from?
The best pancakes from exactly 1.76 meters.
That's nice.
And it
I
lands
had heard that.
bang in the middle. 1.76 is known in the pancake community as the blueberry sweet spot. And yeah, that's how I eat my pancakes. And again, also like you, in my mouth as well.
Yeah, great choice.
I have no time for these people who shove pancakes in their ears. They just those losers. They're the same people who think that wearing a mask is killing them. Like, they're probably all out there. Sorry, got political. Sorry. These are not necessarily the views of Jericho Comedy. If you don't wear a mask, you're still welcome at our nights. But just, grow up.
Stay outside.
Yeah. All right, Ben, now we're going to play a game called Convince Me. I want to hear about the things that matter to you so much, but maybe not as much to anyone else. So the stuff that you would lay down your life to defend your stance on it. And I'm an open-minded guy, so it's your job to state your opinions and convince me to agree with you. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, Ben. So tell me the first opinion of yours that you would like me to agree with.
Well, I thought of this today, actually, so I don't know how strongly I feel about it, but since I've put it down, I sort of do feel quite strongly about it. And also, if you tell me it exists, I'll be mind blown.
Okay.
But right, I think they're all sellotape. You know, it's the rolls of sellotape.
Yeah.
I don't think I needed to explain that. Yes, I know, because I'm a human being. The rolls, like sellotape, is notoriously difficult to sort of deal with, isn't it?
It's tricky.
Yeah. So I think, actually, that's something about me. I can't bite sellotape off with my teeth.
Oh. Can't or won't?
I've tried. Oh, believe me, I've tried. I can't. In fact, I had an embarrassing moment when I went into the post office, I reckon maybe a year ago, and I thought, right, I need to post a letter, but the envelope was damaged. So I thought, I'm in my 30s now. I should be able to do this thing where people bite the sellotape off. This is a common thing, isn't it? Do people know?
I definitely always use scissors, yeah. Now that you mention it, I'm not sure I can do it. Or maybe it's just that...
But people do, don't they?
Yeah, some people definitely do. It's certainly not COVID secure.
No, that's true.
Like, I think this Christmas, people are going to be taping up their presents in a very different way.
Yeah,
scissors are going to have a heyday this December.
I think they will. Maybe invest in some stocks in scissors. Yeah, that's a good shout. This is not just a podcast about comedy, it's an investment tip.
Yeah, expand your portfolio.
Yeah, I can't. I went into the post office probably end of last year, and I couldn't. I thought, right, I'm in my 30s. I'm going to do this with my teeth because I need to post this letter now. I don't have any scissors, so I thought I'm going to do it. Just put it on the sharp one. I've got more. Well, I've got two sharp ones on the top. The ones, near the front. And I did it, and I went to. I did it with my bottom ones. It was, and the sharp ones there. I went to do it, and the sellotape just slipped down between my teeth, and slipped my gum, so I was bleeding from my mouth in the post office. And I've got a business locally. I work in the co-working space about 200 yards from there. And so then my only option at this point, because I had the sellotape stuck between my teeth, it wouldn't come out. And so I had to leave. I had to leave the shop with a roll of sellotape hanging out of my mouth. And I was bleeding from my mouth as well. And then as I pulled the sellotape out, I thought, I was so stuck in there that I thought one of my teeth might come out with the sellotape. It didn't. But I managed to get it out eventually. Got the sellotape out, and it was covered in blood, that bit. I had blood on my fingers and coming out of my mouth. And so I haven't tried it again since then, is the moral of the story. But I can't do it.
So your opinion here is...
Oh, yes. Anyway, so my opinion is about bananas. No, right, seriously, my opinion now is about sellotape.
Okay.
And I came up with this today. Unless it already exists. I think that those rolls of sellotape should be perforated. So you would have a little section. Is it brilliant? Has someone done this? Because I think this is a Dragon's Den sort of moment.
The closest I can think to it is like the sellotape holder, where you're left in charge of deciding how long your bit should be, but standardizing the length of bits of sellotape as well.
Exactly.
I'm genuinely thrilled by this idea.
Thank you, Connor, because the benefit of it is, if you say, for example, what I'm thinking for each little strip is a piece maybe 7 centimeters long, maybe 8.
Okay, yeah.
7 or 8,
yeah,
6, 7, 8, something around And what you could do is you pull it out, and if you wanted a longer bit, the perforation stuff wouldn't be so weak that it would just always snap. So you could just select 3 sections and just perforate it at the 3 section point.
That's brilliant. I am so into this in a big way.
Well, do you want to invest? That's what I'm asking. That's why I'm here.
This is the investment part of the show. I love it. It's original. It's exciting. And I am 100% convinced by this.
Great. Are you in?
I am so in. We'll discuss the financials off air. Suffice to say, my savings account, I got triple figures, £3. So I am your man, if that's the size of investment you need. All right, Ben, I'm so convinced by that. What's your second opinion?
Okay, so this one I feel is going to be short-lived and quite hard to explain. Basically,
so buckle in, listener.
For another hour. Good luck editing this. What I think is, on the seafront you get those blocks of flats.
Yes.
That are like, say, maximum probably 6 stories high.
Yeah.
Maybe 7. So they've got them along Brighton seafront. I think that with those, if you live in the one right on the seafront, your windows obviously are facing out towards the sea and you can see the sea.
Yeah.
However, if you go inland slightly to the block of flats directly behind that one, which is the same height, you can't see the sea, so your windows are out pointing at the road.
Yes.
Perpendicular to the sea, is that the right word? Perpendicular?
Yeah, I think so. You're speaking to someone who got a C at mathematics GCSE, so I might not be an expert in all things perpendicular, but I'm willing to say, that's correct.
Yeah, so my point here is, my idea is basically have the building that has the sea view, but the flat behind should also have a sea view, and to do that they need to make that flat taller than the one in front of it and just keep that going inland forever. And so but each is like 6 stories higher than the one in front of it, so the 6 stories above, they've all got a window facing the sea, and then underneath that, the bit that is behind the flats, so that would just be brick. That would all be dark with no windows, and you could maybe grow some plants in there or something that don't need much light. That's my idea. There's sort of a tiered system so that when you live by the sea, you can't always say, I've got a sea view, but you can
in your perfect society. That's exactly what you can do.
So you just go up for ages.
I'm intrigued by, let's say you're like 6 buildings back and you're on the 36th floor, you can see the sea, it's great. But 30 floors of that building are just brick, no windows, and we're just growing plants in there. Is there a risk of redundant real estate there, Ben? I don't want to say that you haven't thought this plan through. I'm just trying to get a picture of it in my head,
You do. I mean, that's a strong point. But, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to try and beat around the bush. That is a strong point. Well, what you could do is you have loads of levels of squash courts.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's a way to get people out and exercising. If there are, let's say, 3 squash courts per floor for 30 floors, that's a solid 90 squash courts in your apartment building. And there are only 18 apartments in that building, but 90 squash courts. You have no excuse not to get out and exercise.
Earlier on, you said you got a C in mathematics.
I know, I'm just thinking I need a recount.
I think there needs to be a regrading there.
I did my maths GCSE 17 years ago. Is there a statute of limitations on like when you can get a recount?
I don't think so. I think also if you go to them with a really good case, like, you know, almost a case study, like give them this example of the flats equation. They'll just say, right, just have an A star.
Do you think I could just annoy them into giving me an A star? Because that would really expand my job options.
Just send them this portion of the podcast episode and just say, have a listen to this. I think you know what I'm angling at. And I think you'll get a thing through from QVC or whoever does the exams. What's that?
I think a QVC, the shopping channel.
Oh, no, yeah, not them. Not them.
I could buy a maths GCSE from QVC. God knows it can't be any worse than the current system of awarding grades. I'm into it.
Something like that. Is it?
AQA?
AQA, that might be it.
Are they? Yeah, I think AQA might be an exam board. I am definitely getting in touch with them and to cover my bases QVC and asking for a recount of my GCSE from 2003.
Do, yeah.
Brilliant.
Also, if you call up QVC, you'll find that Ainsley Harriott, he didn't actually die, and he's just doing loads and loads of presentations on the latest whisk and how you can make chocolate mousse after it's become hot chocolate.
My working theory is that there are just 1,000 Ainsley Harriotts, and just when one gets killed by an angry Ready Steady Cook contestant, they just unfreeze the next one, like out of cryogenic freezing, and it's like he never died. There's a series that needs to be made.
That is a series that needs to be made, but also we could store all of those Ainsley Harriotts in our flat. And if he likes squash, brilliant.
Every squash court has a freezer at the back of it. I mean, like, don't open the freezer. Whatever you do, do not open the freezer. Netflix, if you're listening, we will write this series for you.
Oh, we will.
Well, Ben, I am so on board with that idea. What is your final opinion that you need to give me?
And my final idea is that everybody should use the talking clock instead of having a watch. So, my theory behind this is, think of the environmental benefits of all those watches not being made.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the power saved and materials, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then, you know that talking clock, don't you? When you dial 123 on your phone.
Oh, I haven't done it for as long as... Oh, I knew about it. I think before I had a mobile phone.
Yeah, so it still exists, and in my opinion is still the best way of telling the time. I think, so the talking clock, if you got rid of all watches, and the only guy who would need a watch would be the man on the 123 line who tells you the time. So when you ring him up, and I could buy a couple of watches and I could basically compete with him if I wanted to. I could get a staff member, so I could double our capacity. And the original 123 guy would only have one watch; he could only do one.
Yeah.
So we could, with my staff member, could do a night shift. Yeah.
And I'm assuming that guy one call and he's engaged. So how is everybody else telling the time?
Exactly.
You've spotted a gap in the market here. I like it.
I have. Yeah. So just get more staff. Perversely, then, the more staff you get, you would need watches again, because they'd all need a watch. I suppose you could get an office clock, then a few of them could look at it. But really, you'd want them to be in separate rooms, because otherwise, which again, the flats would be great for this. We could get them in there, they're living in there. They'd be really fit. And, because if you're in the same room working at this 123 place, and say you call up 2 seconds before me, you might, and then I ring, you might hear my time being given for your time. Also,
but that would be the time when I'm hearing it, would it not?
But that's true. That is true. Yeah, it would.
So maybe we only need one person on, and everybody can just like join a Zoom call, but this person just has to update the time like every second.
But they'd have to be. They can't do that because if it's one guy, when you ring him up, he goes, at the third stroke, the time sponsored by Accurist will be...
That's a very good impression, by the way.
Precisely. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
8:30 precisely. So if you called up, my guy might be saying, he'd be to the bit going, the time sponsored by Accurist. But when you ring, your guy is going to be going at the third stroke. So he'd get to his time later than... I don't know what I'm talking about now, but basically... it would sort of go over the top.
I feel this is surely the plot of the next Christopher Nolan film. It feels like it plays with time enough that it would be right up his street.
That's the thing about it's 50p a go to ring that 123. I've done.
Is it really?
I think it may be 50p a minute. But you might be there, if you like listening to a few times, you might be there for a minute.
Yeah.
Also, I've done the research on this. Which I like to do, if I want the 123 on speaker all day, so I always know the time, that would cost me £720 a day. And if I did that for a year, that's £262,800 a year to have constant contact with the talking clock. So anyone can see that's a bargain. Basically, the most expensive watch ever, I researched this, is $31.1 million.
Why?
It was a Patek Philippe Grandmaster chime. So I could list $31.1 million. So I could listen to the talking clock for the next 40 years and only spend £10.5 million. So that's money, Savvy.
That pays for itself, doesn't it?
It does. Nearly 3 times over. So this really, again, I hope this all comes under the umbrella of the investment section.
It really does. I think people are listening to this and realising they can't afford not to call up the talking clock right now.
No, exactly. Because they're only going to go and make an impulse purchase of a Patek Philippe Grandmaster chime for $31.1 million if they don't do it.
Nothing compounds a hangover worse than when you look at what you've done on your phone the night before and it's like, not another one! Damn it!
Not another Patek Philippe Grandmaster chime. That's my 10th one this week.
I wonder, is that the clock that the guy is using? Because he needs a quality timepiece.
He does, doesn't he? Very precise. And actually, yeah, if he had that watch, which cost him $31.1 million, which I say if, basically when, there's more people like me who want to listen to the talking clock every day for the next 40 years.
Yeah.
If only 4 people do that, they're going to have spent £41 million, £42 million. So he'll make £9 million over...
Oh my God.
No, it would make more than that. It'll make 11 million nearly, I think, over 40 years.
This is a whole racket that he's operating. Just how many of these watches does he own? And how high does this conspiracy go? And where does Christopher Nolan fit into it? This is going to keep me awake at night. And I know I'll be calling up to find out exactly what time of night it is when I'm awake. Because that is the only way from now on I want to know the time.
If you only need to call once, that's the other benefit. Don't wear out the numbers on your phone, the 1, 2, 3. You call once and put it on speaker for the rest of your life.
Ben, I am convinced by this. That is a brilliant idea.
Thank you.
Well, there we go, listener.
Thank you.
Ben has given us all food for thought there. Ben, before I let you go, how can our lovely listeners stay across the whole Ben Robson experience? Have you got social media accounts we can follow? Can we follow Goat Comedy, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so Goat Comedy is just on Facebook as Goat Comedy.
Excellent.
Facebook.com.goatcomedy. Goat Comedy. What am I? How many dots have I got in my address?
Goat.comedy.facebook/goat.
On Twitter, if you really want to do that, I am the Ben Robson.
Oh,
the Ben Robson.
Excellent.
Very arrogant there. So yeah, it's just that, the Ben Robson on Twitter. My Instagram's otherwise my personal one. Really, I think it's Ben Robson Comedian or something, or comedy. Yeah, and I don't have a Facebook page. But yeah, follow Goat Comedy. We'll be back at some point. So follow that on Twitter at Goat_comedy, and on Facebook, facebook.com/Goat Comedy.
Brilliant. Well, we will add links to all of those accounts into the episode description. And Ben, I very much look forward to when things are completely back to normal and we get to see you at Jericho Comedy again, hopefully very soon.
Yeah, you too. You too, mate. Yeah, it'd be great to see you. But yeah,
thanks so much for joining me. Cheers, Ben. Speak soon. Bye.
Right. Cheers. Bye.
It's such a good time chatting to Ben there. Make sure you follow Ben on social media. And if you're anywhere near Brighton, do check out the brilliant Goat Comedy. Here at Jericho, we're paying close attention to all the latest government advice. And thankfully, it's all been super clear and easy to understand so far. We're keen to keep putting on shows as we have been doing over the summer in safe and compliant ways. The safety of our audiences and our acts is super important to us. And with that in mind, we're very much hoping to be able to announce some indoor performances over the next few weeks and months that are all very compliant. We promise you'll be very safe and you will have a wonderful time at those shows. If you want to hear more about our plans, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, sign up to our mailing list, and visit www.jerichocomedy.com for all the latest information on our shows. We'd be really grateful if you'd throw a bit of money toward Oxfordshire Mind. We've raised over £70,000 for them in the last few years, and obviously the need for mental health services is probably more pronounced now than at any point over the last few years. Even a couple of quid would be a very kind donation. And if you've been listening to this podcast and enjoying it, follow the link in the episode description and do just that. Check back next week and I'll be chatting to another fantastic Jericho Comedy regular. Until then, thanks so much for listening and bye-bye.